Did you
show it on the screen?
Yes, that's
right, but then I have to sit forward. He knows
That's
I'm
fine.
here.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think
when
he's...
she speaks that she leans forward.
But you don't have to lean forward. You can bring the chair forward.
Okay.
Much better.
Okay. You don't hear this voice. All right.
Yes, because otherwise he didn't see you, Charlotte.
But then I have to look at myself when I do the minutes. I always...
You can look at Janos.
You can look at Janos, yes.
Or if I'm too close to it, all I hear when I do them is this loud booming voice, and I'm loud booming anyway. Oh my God, do I have to go on with you know, it's the horrors of... Anyway, but the point is, what his experiment showed was... Well, no. There are two things. Let's get back to what Janos said to begin with, and that is that maybe, it seems that what Janos is saying is maybe the reason that the students who did his experiments had wanted to write their lines within the bar lines as opposed to starting before the bar line was because that is really the more natural way that a person who has for whom the beat is very, very important or essential. Whereas in modern dance, maybe the pulse is not, or the sense of where the beat occurs is not always essential. But I would argue that modern dance still, most of the time, still is, or many of the times, aware of the music and the meter. I mean, we count.
Well, also, I mean, think about ballet companies.
Yeah.
You go to one company class, and everybody arrives exactly on the beat. In another one,
it holds it and doesn't move.
Right, exactly, holds it and doesn't move. In another ballet company, they will move towards it on the beat. And it isn't something that is generally a rule anywhere.
They don't know.
They don't know.
Right,
Until they
yeah.
go to class.
Or
what's going to happen?
You see the corpse de ballet, the corpse when they're doing it, that some dancer just holds a little bit, slightly a little bit longer on something.
Yes, and they get to it on the beat.
So, like, let me see.
So they,
I don't know if this is good. So, but if I'm doing, I have to be able to do this so that it'll get on the tape.
This is what they do. They go 1, 2,
and then
3,
4.
1, 2, 3,
4. And they think they're doing it
all the time.
And they think they're doing it 1, 2, 3, 4, but they're not.
They're doing 1. They're not doing 1, 2. It's a 1, 2. It's not getting it. It's 1, 2. But that's making the point, it seems to me, that what that we were saying is, I mean, it's harder for me. I want to go 1, 2.
Yeah.
1, 2.
And it's your training.
It's my training. So
Juilliard.
that's saying that the training of a modern dancer and a ballet dancer is the same,
Well,
indeed.
no, not at all. In ballet, it varies, and the company, it may be the company. If you're with New York City Ballet, there's a likelihood that your class will get there before the beat. If you're in American Ballet Theater, it will
Go through
the beat.
Well, that's because balance. Well, anyway, go ahead.
But it's not
It doesn't
ballet
matter.
per se.
It's a style.
It's a style, and it develops. And if you watch like a younger company that's composed of different dancers, say Milwaukee Ballet Company where I was, it varied. And some days they were going before the beat, and then everybody else changed to go before the beat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but then, so that's why I can see Janos' point of requiring exact timing, because how Hungarian dance, there's a lot of things is arriving exactly on the beat.
I don't think that
Janos
is that what you're. Go ahead, Janos.
What are we talking of? Interpretation
Right.
of the piece.
Right.
So what Lynne said is, for me, purely a question of interpretation. But there is, behind each interpretation, there must be a kind of standard. So what is the core of the movement? What is the well, I always use the word that what is the expression, but what the movement is meant to say.
Well, there's also how much...
meant to say.
Right, it's also how much freedom is allowable within that.
Yes.
If it's absolute, you want exact timing. If you must get there on the beat, then it screams exact timing to
But
me.
I still say that what you are not talking, we're saying, well, you're using the word exact timing now to mean something different.
No,
We're
to
saying-
mean the one with the asterisk, the timing where you have to write before the bar, and if it arrives on the time, that you know it arrives then, and that's exact timing.
But you know that when you write with unit timing too. It's just that it's written differently.
Well, but there's an implied, I think, little bit more freedom.
Is there?
Is there? Is the question.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's not to do with how we perform. If I look at a score in unit timing, then it's written using the symbols that what we're calling exact timing, the direction sign for a gesture comes before the bar line, so that visually the end of it comes at the beginning of the beat. Visually, it's written that way, and then I write the same thing, the same movement, regardless, it's interpreted exactly the same movement. I look at it in whatever way we interpret, and I can write that movement using what we call unit timing. It's indeed, you're not saying anything different about the timing. It has to do with the way that it's represented on the paper. And when you go in reverse and do an experiment and say, I want you to look at the movement, and you would find out that the students tend to record with the movement using what we call unit time. But it doesn't, the movement is exactly the same. Am I right?
Yeah.
It's not
Yes.
that we have, and now the question is, what you're saying is if I see these symbols after the bar line, does that mean that I would tend to have a sense of the, that's Ray. I am what I am.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm expressive. Anyway, do you understand what I'm saying? I won't go on with
Yeah,
it.
whether there's freedom built into the symbology, whether there is
No, there is no
freedom
freedom.
interpretation.
There's no freedom built into the symbol. The freedom is in the use.
Well, in the use
not
of the symbol.
And the other thing is that if it's only one symbol with no movement afterwards, that makes a big difference to the reader. Because if you use unit timing, you stop right on the beat, and there's no movement, so there's no symbol. If you use unit timing, you go all the way through that beat, and if you're going to have no movement afterwards, it has to be in the next unit. And visually, that makes a big difference on the page.
It's true. What do you think, Janos?
Question of convention. So the question when you can see two symbols one after the other, then how you go from one point to the other point. And then it's independent if you are using unit timing or specific timing. Because if in unit timing they go like that, and in specific timing exactly the same but a little bit of shifted. And then the one after the other, there are no gaps or no other indication, if there are not. If there are, then the movement is different. So I agree with Charlotte that the whole thing is around how to notate the same thing. What kind of convention we use. And then with one way notating it seems that it's easier to recognize than with another one. That's the whole.
And also, Ray, am I right in thinking that if I have two symbols, no matter where they are, and there's no touching, and there's no accent, then I probably, depending upon my training, have a sense, as you say, of a sense of the whole, the thing as a whole unit. But if I have an accent somewhere, or if I have a touch sign somewhere, that in itself just tends to force me to break it up and come to a conclusion.
Right.
Yes.
So it's where
And
you
it
have
has-
the touches that this thing, or accents that this thing comes into play.
Yes.
The issue
and they
comes into
influence heavily the performance.
Right.
I just know when I started notator training in New York with Lucy, I brought this up as the notator. She said, well, if you want to notate the movement before the beat, go ahead and do it. So I started to do it, and it got so difficult I stopped.